Greetings everyone, my name is BlackWitchDirah. I am a Luciferian witch of the left-hand path as well as an occult educator. This channel is for talking about all sorts of occult topics, so if that sounds good to you, hit subscribe. I upload every Saturday. So today I thought I would revisit one of my older videos, not that old, one I did at the end of last year regarding the Temple of Satan, just because I'm aware that there was an overlap that I made in that video and I got called out on it a lot, and rightfully so, I suppose. Like, some people were like really nice about it and sort of like, oh yeah, Dyra, by the way, I think you made a mistake, and then like other people were literally like, oh my god, you are so fucking stupid. So yeah, mixed reviews on that video as well as various other things that I got as feedback as well. So I wanted to go into that and just kind of backtrack, correct myself, and also elaborate a bit further on things that were misinterpreted by some. Of course, my kind of knee-jerk reaction to comments like that is, oh my god, I need to hide away because I am wrong and I should just shut up and not say anything. But we don't do that here. That is not what we do. We are all about personal responsibility. We are allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to say shit that is you know, basically wrong, and go back and correct it, because it's okay. We make mistakes, we can correct ourselves, and I'm okay with like being humble today. I'm okay with being wrong today. Some people seem to think that I'm on like an ego thing when I talk about controversial subjects, because it's as if I like to be controversial or I'm trying to get reactions, and that's genuinely like I genuinely think these things. I'm not doing this to be controversial. Now, before I kind of go into all of that, the typical kind of intro, so I'm an occult educator, and therefore I have lots of occult educational related services. So I have courses, I have learning programs which differ slightly because they are more about mentorship than a set curriculum. So at the moment I released Working with Santa Mayte Part 1 at the beginning of last year, and I'm currently working on Part 2. It is available for purchase. I'm uploading content on a weekly basis rather than selling a finished product. Obviously it will be finished eventually, but I wanted to make it available now. So that's ready. The links to both are in the description. I'm also working on something called Initiation into Life and Death, which is all about the Tree of Life and the Clip-Off, and mentoring people through that. So that is available for you guys to basically have a look at. There's a mailing list if you know you're interested but want more information. And I'm currently working on a project with Atiustade, which is called Witch Skills. Witch Skills is an occult school that blends traditional occult philosophies with left-hand path studies and practical application, and we have so much we're going to cover on there. I'm currently working on demonology stuff, but there is so much more to come with it, and we are really excited to get that off the ground. So the mailing list for that is also linked in the description. I feel like I have to like list things off in my head in these intros, but I've also recently done kind of as like a spin-off, not really a spin-off, just maybe more of a really gentle introduction into the Initiation into Life and Death stuff. We covered astral magic, which is more like, you know, the lunar Sephira or Khalifa. We covered some topics under that just as like a class, like a one-time recorded class. So that's up and ready now as well, if you know you kind of just want to get a taste for things. And as for smaller projects like that, I'm also working on some other things. So I'm creating a course about baneful magic. It's called To Hex or Not to Hex. So that will be up and ready to go soon as well. Anyway, enough of my nattering, let's get into this topic. So the main obvious mistake and overlap I made was kind of combining Church of Satan and the Temple of Satan. And yeah, I acknowledge that that was a crossover. Satanism, whilst I've read a lot of the literature and it's something I know a bit about, it's not my forte. Like, I'm not a Satanist. And I understand there are two different organisations. I understand that they believe different things. I understand that they're not that fond of each other. So one of the things that people were pointing out was the fact that I referred to Church of Satan literature in the video when it was Temple of Satan creating this after school Satan club. I've just realised I've not gone into any background about what the video was about, so sorry, but the video I made, if you haven't watched it already, you can, it's relatively recent, so you can find it really easily. I was talking about after school Satan club. So it was basically the Temple of Satan have set up this after school Satan club where they teach, like, it's basically like a science club, right? And I was just talking about my views on it and how I'm against it for various reasons. So what I did was I looked at like satanic literature, so like Church of Satan literature, like the Satanic Bible, and I referred to things in there that weren't appropriate for children. That was not me suggesting that the Satanic Bible was going to be read in this after school club. Like, I wasn't making that jump there. I don't like that. That's not something that's going to happen realistically, right? And I'm not one of these people, because it wouldn't make sense for me to be one of these people that, you know, is this like crazy conspiracy theorist that seems to think that Satanists are trying to take over the world and this whole like new world order, right? I'm not one of those people. I think those people are fucking batshit. I can't stand those people. So I'm not coming at it from that angle. So I referred to this Church of Satan literature and insinuated that it makes it more accessible by introducing the concept of atheistic Satanism to children. I'm not saying that that's what they teach, but it's the Temple of Satan that are running this club, right? Regardless of what, like, they could be making fucking cakes, they could be doing science projects, they could be doing fucking anything, but at the end of the day, it's still the Temple of Satan. That's still what they are doing. And while the Satanic Bible is not literature of the Temple of Satan, they are still a Satanist organisation. And if you are an occultist, you know how this goes. You know, like, I doubt that if you're an occultist, you jumped into Satanism or the left-hand path straight away off the bat. I doubt that you did that. You probably played about in paganism for a bit. You probably looked at different pantheons for a bit. Or you might have been one of those people that just picked up the Satanic Bible one day and that was one of the first books you read. But if you're an occultist, you know that you go deeper into this stuff. One thing leads to another. You know that once you pick up one book, you discover other books, right? So the point I'm trying to make here is that the Temple of Satan being associated with children in any way opens that gateway to other Satanist literature, which is not appropriate for children. And it's not a case of the Temple of Satan are deliberately doing that. Of course they're not. That's not what I'm accusing here. What I'm saying is that it just opens it up a little bit. It makes it just that little bit more accessible. Children are very curious, okay? So it just, like, that's just what doesn't sit right with me. And I know that, like, they're obviously getting permission from the parents to attend this thing. Like, of course they are. They get permission from their parents, you know, to attend like any after school club. Like, any good parent knows where their kids are, right? But that still doesn't mean that I agree with it just because their parents are like, oh yeah, go to after school Satan club. Like, I don't really understand why that's relevant. So basically, despite me making that overlap, the point still stands. The point I was making, despite the overlap I made, the point still stands. The point still stands that the Temple of Satan being associated with children makes Satanism and other satanic literature more accessible, and that goes for other organisations. Another point that people were a little bit annoyed by that I made was I started by saying that the Satanic Temple aren't really a religious organisation, but then I said that they are recognised as a religious organisation. Yeah, they are. So I get how that came across as contradictory. But what I'm saying is how does it fall under the umbrella of religion, in the sense that religion, the definition of religion is worship of a, like, superhuman being, a god, right? And then there's another definition underneath that, which is a particular system of faith or worship. You could argue that atheistic Satanism is worship of the self. Yeah, I get that. It's just too blurry for me. It's too, that's what, like, I'm not saying that they're not a religious, like, I'm not saying that they're not recognised as a religious organisation, because obviously they are, that's a fact. I'm just saying I don't really understand how they qualify as such. And if religion is something that they are actively against being taught in schools, why identify yourself as a religion? I just think it's a loose-fitting term. is all. That's all I'm saying. And then the final thing that I think pissed people off a bit was the whole kind of point about leftist, that I'd used the term leftist and people didn't really like it for a multitude of reasons. Someone pointed out that the Satanic Temple have always been leftist. Yes, they have, but Satanism is not inherently leftist. I think it is most of the time in this day and age, but it hasn't always been inherently leftist. There are obviously the right-wing, like, extremist groups, but they're quite a minority among Satanism. And I think that the main reason the term leftist pissed people off so much, because they immediately thought, oh my god, Dirah's a conservative. And people fucking hated that, because they were like, oh my god, how do you work with demons if you're a conservative? And I was like, first of all, did the word conservative, when referring to myself, leave my fucking mouth? No, it did not. You jumped to that, right? Some of us are not solely right or left, okay? And also, what has working with demons got to do with my fucking political beliefs? I don't know, because, I mean, the right-wing extremist groups are working with demons, and I don't know, personally, they might be doing a fucking good job of it. I don't fucking know. So I don't think that's a relevant point to make when there are right-wing Satanist extremist groups working with demonic beings. If they are capable of doing it, then surely anyone is, right? And yeah, it was just like when people found out that I wasn't leftist, they were like, oh my god, I need to unfollow you. And I was just like, okay, cool, I don't give a fuck. Like, if that bothers you that much, I suggest you do, for the sake of your own weakness. Like, you know, maybe get off the internet for a bit as well, and maybe go touch some grass, might be helpful. So yeah, people didn't like the fact that I was referring to leftist or leftism in a negative way. They really didn't fucking like that one. I just find politics really confusing when it comes to this stuff, because it's like, I have some left-wing views, I have some right-wing views. Neither of them are at the extreme ends, just to reassure you that I'm not fucking mental. For example, I think gay marriage should be allowed, and I think people probably should be able to keep their guns, perhaps, because as a woman in the UK, where we have absolutely no means of defending ourselves, because even things like pepper spray are considered as an illegal firearm. The cat's drinking out of the Astaroth water. That's not your water. Yeah, so as a woman in the UK who has absolutely no means of defending herself, I'd quite like to have a fucking gun, actually, so I can feel safe walking home at night, because it's not safe for me. So in terms of, if that makes it a right-wing view, then so be it. That's just me. So I don't even know if I identify as a centrist. I don't get it, personally. I don't get how it applies to, I don't get how politics applies to my spiritual life at all, really. So yeah, people didn't really like that. And I just find that if you say one thing, if you say one singular thing that's either not 100% accurate or correct, or you say something that offends someone, that literally blinds them entirely to the point you were trying to make in the first place, which still has standing. Like I said, my opinions from the video haven't changed. I'm just correcting certain things that, you know, the mistakes I made, right? But my views haven't changed. Despite that, my point still stands, and I think it's still a relevant point. So, but yeah, it blinds people to the original point you were trying to make, just because you said like one little thing that like they didn't like or wasn't 100% correct. So it's kind of like a mosaic, right? So you look up like really close to it, and you like, it doesn't look like anything, it just looks like a shitty little bit of tile. And if you're like standing really close to the mosaic, like pointing out this shitty little part of it that doesn't make sense, but then you stand back and you actually see what the picture is, and it's like, oh, it actually makes up a fucking picture despite that bit looking like shit. You know, that's kind of how I see it, right? So yeah, I just wanted to backtrack, clear up a few things, correct a few things, just basically say my opinion's the same. But yeah, I don't like to run and hide from criticism, from backlash, from things like that, because I don't think that's productive. I think that you should always respond to criticism if you can, especially if it's constructive. Unless of course someone's just going out their way to be a dick, then there's probably not much point in responding. And I just want to say thank you to the people that did correct me on things. I want to say thank you to the people that were, especially to the people that were actually like polite about it as well. Like, I really appreciate that. That means a lot, because I think there's something to be said for being able to either like disagree or correct someone without being an arsehole about it. So thank you to the people who did that. And yeah, I think I'm gonna leave this video here. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the links in my description. I will see you in the next one.